Hi, I'm David Rasmussen with Colorado Cinema Spotlight. And today we're interviewing Roland Clements, Colorado filmmaker and animator Roland Clements. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you with us.
Thanks.
So why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself before we see any of the films. What kind of got you started in all this?
Okay. Well, a while back I was always interested in video and video editing and everything. And a while back, actually, I got together with my brother, who's an artist, and in all these animations, you'll see his artwork. We basically started, we had an idea that we wanted to do a movie. We're very ambitious. I just got my first editing software. Software was actually a Casablanca. It's like this big, bulky machine.
Yeah.
It's like one of the first non-linear things. And we wanted to actually test it out and do a movie. So I was actually in acting and production classes. So we just gathered everyone up, and we threw this crazy idea about like these aliens that come down to Earth and abduct people and all that. And we want to kind of give like a 50s flair. So we started doing this, and I realized it was a lot of fun, and it was great working with these people. But from that, we kind of decided, well, we can either go in the direction of doing another movie, and we had all these great big plans. We had these great stories going on. However, actors, production, lighting, sound, all this is just like, okay, it's so overwhelming. Well, Dean, he's an artist, like I said, and he kind of came up with the idea, well, why don't we do a test to see if we can do animation? And I said, yeah, I think we can. So he quickly drew up a little character. I think it was a car, actually, at the time. And basically the whole idea was the car just goes across the screen.
Yeah, right.
And I was surprised how easy we were able to do that. And instantly I just fell in love with this. And to me, it's just so cool to be able to create something and just from scratch, basically just a drawing, and then in the end you have something moving and it's almost living, and it's just an awesome thing to see done.
Great. Were there certain filmmakers or animators that kind of inspired your work?
Oh boy, yes, definitely. Obviously, nowadays I look up to like the Pixar. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people find that amazing. I like a lot of the Fleischer Brothers. They did Betty Boop and the old Superman, Popeye, and they had a very unique technique, which is something that in Nightmare we tried to kind of follow by, where they would work with layers. And I mean, there's still some scenes I look today that I'm blown away with. And I just think the whole technique itself is just great, classy, and it's just a fun way to begin. And both me and Dean both decided that, we're really into that, and we kind of want to go with that old type of like the Superman and like the Betty Boop.
Yeah. Well, the type of filmmakers that occur to me are like Terry Gilliam with Monty Python doing the graphic cutouts. I mean, that reminded me of your work.
That was someone else I was going to mention.
Yeah.
I absolutely love him, his films.
Yeah.
He has such an imagination. I don't think that it can even be seen clearly on film. I mean, it's hard to put all this in on a film, but exactly. Yeah, we follow a lot of that.
Okay, let's get into one of your film clips here so that people can see what your style is like.
Great.
I think the first one we're going to look at is called Nightmare Stumbles Past.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Did this get any particular screenings or awards that you can?
Yeah, it did. Our intention with this at first was to basically kind of go local. And we showed it at a couple of venues around town, and then at the UCCS, Film Festival, it won a couple of years for that. From there, we kind of spanned it out to different states because we felt a little more confident with it.
Sure, why not?
And so we won at, I believe it was I can't remember the name of it now, but it was in Oklahoma, and we won another one in Ohio. They weren't big festivals, but they're, a very decent size. Sure. And then a friend of mine, Robert Van Dazanowski, who's also the executive producer of Nightmare, he helped me get it into the Austrian Film Festival. And that one, it was very strange because I never heard anything from it. All of a sudden, one day, I get in the mail a little teddy bear and a certificate in, I guess, Austrian. I didn't know what it said, but I guess it translated out to be the Audience Choice Award. So it wasn't by the judges, but the audience liked it. So,
okay.
I felt really good about that. So,
well, let's take a look at it so people can see what your work is like.
Yeah.
Okay. This first film clip we're going to look at is Nightmare Stumbles Past by Roland Clements. There might be a few scenes that are kind of scary for little kids, but go ahead and take a look at it. I think you'll enjoy it.
High atop old Ingleville Hill, amongst the dust and ruins, something dark and sinister roams the land, and a small house that held a big secret long before.
And so we wait. Wait for our sins to be forgotten. Wait for our past to be erased by time. Yet this fails to relinquish the guilt deeply submerged in our souls. The fear that manifests itself into a nightmare that stumbles past your doorway as you sleep. So I ask you, my friends, how do we rid ourselves of those nightmares that haunt us?
Esta ilha alcançava aqueles que no mundo você pensa nestas novas gigas você comunicar com eles que devemos estar em toda parte não pode estar ao nosso lado.
No one knows what came that night. Some believe it was a demon, maybe old Scratch himself, up from the dark depths of hell for reasons unknown. Or perhaps it was the collective souls of those who perished in the mines, enraged by years of neglect. Whatever it was, it came with the storm and left with the morning light. And all that remained were memories, the echoing voices in my head that constantly reminded me of an unforgiven past and an uncertain future. Memories and then silence.
That was Nightmare Stumbles Past by Roland Clements. Great short.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you
good.
very much. It took a lot of work.
I'm sure it did. But before we get into talking about the animation, I'm really curious about the incident or the story that is based on or that inspired it.
Okay, well, it was actually something that my brother, who, like I mentioned before, did all the artwork. He actually heard the story before, and there's an actual town. At the very beginning of the animation itself, you see all these images pop up. That's the actual town that supposedly this story came from. So people are wondering why are all these images popping up. The idea of that was it was an old miner who lived alone in this town that used to be a prosperous mining town, and it pretty much all died out. Well, one night, allegedly, he was just in his place doing whatever he was doing, and it was a lightning storm. And the neighbors heard this horrible scream. They looked out the window and they saw this creature, kind of like you see in the one scene where the creature's tearing off the roof. They saw something on top of the roof, just tearing the roof away. And they couldn't describe what it was. They waited till the storm ended. They came out and they found the old miner in the closet, clutching the Bible, and he was just talking just to himself. He was just totally out of it. And as the story goes, they took him out of his place, and a few minutes later, he just died.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we always thought that was kind of a cool basis to start things on.
Okay, well, let's talk about the animation, because this was a real elementary form of animation for you, right?
Yes.
What is it, cell technique? Is that what you call it?
Yes. Actually, at that time, we didn't really know of any other option but to do a cell animation. And basically, cell animation is you take each individual piece of art, So in some cases, like we'd have the old man or the dog, and my brother would draw it out, and he would put it on a clear piece of plastic. From there, I would put it on this thing that we built, a light box, which had light that shot up through behind it. I'd take a picture of it. We'd do the second one, take a picture. Third, take a picture. There was, in the end, there was like thousands of these cells, like all scattered all over my room. And then what we'd do is we'd get the background images, and whatever particular background for that scene, and we'd put that in. If we need it, like inside the house, we'd have a background scene of the house in there, and then we'd have to make sure that we didn't budget even an inch, or I mean even just the littlest budge, and we'd have to start over. There were some nights where I would have 60 cells. I'd put it down, take a picture, carefully take it off. I'd get to 59, I'd sneeze, and I knew that I'd have to start over, so I'd have to scrap it and do it over again. Yeah. And that was very time consuming.
So how long did it take to do a scene, to do the whole film?
Oh boy, scenes, it depends on the scene. Sometimes we'd get lucky. It took over, I would say over a year to do this. Yeah. And that was with me diligently working probably like 10, 12 hours a night sometimes.
Wow.
So,
wow.
yeah.
For just a 10-minute film? Something?
For a 10-minute film. And as you probably noticed, there's different forms of media in there. Not only did we have the cell animation, but the monster itself was a stop motion character, which is basically just a little character made out of clay that has a wireframe under him. In fact, we have the guy right here, so you guys can see,
He doesn't look quite as threatening now.
He doesn't look nearly as threatening. In fact, his arm's broken, so I apologize for that. And he's not 8 feet tall, but what we'd do is we'd place him, and then we'd make sure that, he stood still, move him just a little bit, take a snapshot, move them a little more, take a snapshot, a little more, and so on and so on.
One cell or one scene at a time?
Basically one frame at a time, yeah. And then these guys actually, there would be an all-night session for like maybe a 3-second scene for this, yeah.
Okay.
Quite the adventure.
It's a great little film, and I can see why it's gotten so much recognition.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, let's talk about your next clip that we're going to see, the film Call of Bazuzu.
Call of Bazuzu, yeah.
Call of Bazuzu. Let's talk a little bit about the difference in the animation. How did you go? How much did you go from one to the next?
I don't think we have time for all the differences. Mainly just software. So thank goodness for After Effects and Photoshop and just all the great software out there now. There was so much that happened from Nightmare to Call of Bazuzu. Particularly, as you've seen earlier, we had the cell animation. Now what we can do is basically, my brother Dean could just take one drawing, and I can digitally cut out each of the images. Instead of an animation going up like this and has every frame, he just has to do one with an arm right here, and through different software techniques, I can actually bend it, move it out. I can actually, shift and move the characters around. So it actually does a lot less animation work on his end, and it's also a lot easier and more fluid. We even color it in the computer now. Yeah. It's like the old one, and that's something else that you'll notice, is this one is all digitally colored. So with like Photoshop and Illustrator.
Right. Yeah. So what was the inspiration for this character, the story?
Me and Dean driving around, basically just talking what we wanted to do next. And my wife Leslie was just talking about how when she was really young, and sorry Leslie, I don't want you getting upset telling this story. How when she was young, she had a doll that she called Zuzu. And she took it everywhere with her. And we just thought Zuzu was such a strange name, a little sinister, a little devious. And we thought, from that we figured, okay, well, why don't we have an idea of like a doll who has a pull string, kind of like a Toy Story with Woody, but she tells the girl to do things that may not be in her best interest.
Well, that's a good teaser. That'll get them wanting to see.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, let's take a look at it then.
Okay, great.
And I understand this is a premiere of this one, right?
Actually, this will be the premiere. Yeah. It's going to be on the web. We're hoping actually to do kind of a web series with this, but we figure, hey, let's show it now.
Okay, let's take a look at the film.
Great.
This is Call of Bazuzu by Roland Clements and his brother F. Dean Sneed. And again, a couple of the scenes might be too scary for little kids.
Zuzu, I'm bored. What shall we do today?
Baking cookies is fun.
Would you like some milk with your cookies?
Let's play dress up.
What should we do now, Zuzu?
Steal Mommy's car and drive north until you reach the Canadian border. There you will find for me the yellow-tailed schizoid bull moose located deep in the valleys of the St. Elias Mountains. Smuggle the bull moose over the border and bring it back here to me. So says Bazuzu, your friend.
What shall we do today?
Let's play veterinarian.
That was Call of Bazuzu by Roland Clements and his brother Dean Sneed. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this. It's a great film. The animation's wonderful, but the story, the characters, everything's really good.
Thanks.
How do you design or create a character like Sally Sue, for instance? Where does she come from?
Well, Sally Sue is actually an interesting character. If you notice that she doesn't have arms or legs. Well, she has arms and legs, but she doesn't have hands and feet. They're just kind of tentacles that go there. And that was an accident, really. That wasn't our original intention with this. My brother Dean, basically, I throw the idea out. And he was like, okay, great. And he'll quickly draw up a couple of sketches. And in this case, we kind of knew how we wanted Sally Sue. We wanted her to kind of have like this Brady Bunch type of feel. I can't remember the little girl's name, not Marcia, but you get the idea with the pigtails. And so he's drawing up all these different characters like this. And something just wasn't looking right. And we were both getting kind of frustrated. And he had like, one with 4 fingers, 5 fingers, brown hair, green eyes, all these different things. And on this one, he didn't have it completely finished. It was kind of like, I don't know if it was supposed to be kind of like a joke or what, but he basically just had some tentacles there. And I think he was planning on drawing fingers and toes on it. But we both look at that and we're like, whoa, wait up. This is a totally different style than we're thinking about, but this is a style we want to go in. And I think both of us agreed mutually at that point. And it's interesting how just those little things can affect the whole story, because now, particularly with Bazuzu, Sally Sue, and with later episodes you'll see more so, only the adults have hands and legs and toes. And all the kids, just little tentacles, and even the dog has little spiky things running around in. Yeah.
You were talking something about animating the mouths in order to pronounce the
Yes.
words. How do you do that?
Yeah, that's actually something I think we do a little different than a lot of animators do, because a lot of animators will get the animation done. they'll get the voices done, the mouths and everything, and then they'll have the voice actors come in. Voice actor will say their part, and they kind of fit it up to the mouth. We discovered it's actually a lot easier to actually have the voice actors come in first. And then what my brother will do is he'll draw out the mouths, separate from the characters. So when you see the character first, like Sally Sue, originally she has no mouth. She's just, she's just there, and we have to put the mouth on later. And we discovered, early on, we were actually doing every syllable. Mm-hmm. But we discovered that if we actually just focus on the vowels, A, E, I, O, U, the mouth movement is there. And the person's eye distinguishes those particular movements. So if you have Sally Sue saying something like, ouch, all you need is an O and maybe something that resembles an S. But you put those together at a certain pace, and it looks like she's saying ouch. And we discovered it just seems to work a lot easier for us that way. And then the actors also don't have to keep going back and saying the lines over and over again. We can just pick the one that we think sounds good and then model from that. And so we kind of go backwards, like I said. Instead of having the whole animation done, then the voice actors come in. We actually do the voice actors, the mouths, then the animation, and we put the mouse on top of that.
Well, do you have any other projects in the works or coming up other than this series?
Oh, well, I mean, right now we're doing a bunch of freelance work. We actually finished some stuff for some companies, and we're going to plan on doing more of the Bazuzu. We're actually hoping, like I said, to make it kind of like a web series going on. Plus, I'm actually starting to dabble more into 3D animation. Yeah. And that's a totally different ballgame right there. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be eager to see what work comes out there.
Oh, well, yeah.
Just before we leave, do you have any advice maybe for upcoming Colorado filmmakers?
Oh, wow.
Especially in animation.
Well, yeah, in animation. And honestly, just in general, long as you're determined, I don't care what obstacles can get in your way. As long as you're determined and you stay focused on something, you can get it done. Be it may, like, with us, it took us over a year, and particularly with Nightmare, it took us over a year and a couple of crashes and us having to start over. But long as you know that there's an end goal and that you can actually have something that you can claim as your own and that you did, I think that could be worthwhile. Yeah.
Great. Are there places online where people can see these films, or?
Right now we have all of them on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have Nightmare, and we're going to have Bazuzu. We don't have Bazuzu on there yet, but we're going to have Bazuzu on there. But we also have some of our other animations, including a couple music videos and some commercial spots and whatnot. So.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so,
great.
Check it out.
Well, thanks a lot, Roland Clements. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, this is Roland Clements, and I'm David Rasmussen with Colorado Cinema Spotlight. If you have any comments or you'd like to contribute, you can find us on Facebook. Colorado Cinema Spotlight on Facebook. Thanks for joining us.